Stop scrolling for 5 seconds and answer this. If your mind were a garden, who's actually doing the planting, you or the endless parade of strangers, screens, and slogans surrounding you? Most of us water every flower of information that lands in the soil, yet nobody ever handed us the manual on pruning, shaping, or turning those seeds into fruit. That's why it feels as though the harvest of our attention is always being collected by somebody else, an algorithm, a headline, a boss, even a long-forgotten childhood rule we never questioned. Today, we're taking back the tools, knowledge. V's thinking why the gap hurts more than ever. We live in the loudest century in human history. Data pours over us like Niagara Falls. Facts, tutorials, 5-step secrets, breaking news, notifications, motivational quotes. We gulp it down, believing volume equals wisdom. But have you noticed how quickly that knowledge evaporates the moment real pressure slams into your day? A flood of what with zero how leaves us like vessels overflowing with water yet unable to drink. We're great at memorizing, terrible at metabolizing. Enter Stoicism, a philosophy forged on dusty Athenian porches and Roman battlefields over 2 millennia ago. These thinkers didn't just collect ideas, they sculpted them into weapons. For the mind tools to slice through chaos, fear, and the tyranny of impulse, Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who wrote by lamplight after leading armies, reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The sentence looks simple on a coffee mug, lived fully. It detonates like dynamite. The promise of this video: by the end of this journey, you'll walk away with 10 stoic thinking principles you can flash like a passport at any checkpoint of stress. Deadlines, it's heartbreak, social media arguments, global uncertainty, you name it. They're not academic theories. They're mental martial arts drills that sharpen self-discipline so you steer energy instead of leaking it. Clarity under fire so panic becomes problem-solving. Quiet confidence so approval addiction dies of starvation. During calm so purpose outlasts turbulence. Ready? Let's carve the first principle into your mental marble. Principle 1. Draw the bright red line of control. Visualize yourself standing at a beach as a storm approaches. Waves slap the shore, clouds multiply, gulls shriek overhead, you can scream. At the sky oar, you can pound 2 stakes into the sand and stretch a red rope between them. On one side, what you command your judgments, choices, actions, and interpretations. On the other, everything else, the weather, the market, other people's moods, yesterday's mistakes, tomorrow's gossip. Over 2,000 years ago, former slave-turned-philosopher Epictetus handed humanity its most underrated life hack. Some things are up to us, others are not. Memorize it, because it's the ultimate theft deterrent system. Regret, resentment, self-pity, pickpocket attention, only when we chase ownership of what was never ours. Outcomes, opinions, random accidents. The moment you slash that illusion, you unload a backpack of invisible bricks. Lighthouse quote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Epictetus picture that sentence glowing at the end of a dark tunnel. Every time you react, you decide whether to turn toward the light or stumble deeper into noise. Case study, Sarah Blakely and the Alchemy of No. Have you ever slammed into a door so many times that its wood grain feels tattooed on your forehead? It's Sarah Blakely did hundreds of times. Long before she became the billionaire founder of Spanx, she was a fax machine sales rep, navigating Florida heat and lukewarm leads. In the evenings, she scribbled sketches of a product no one had asked for, shapewear that empowered women instead of imprisoning them in stitched-in insecurity. She pitched manufacturers. No. She mailed prototypes. No. She cold-called factories. No. Each rejection looked like proof that fortune favored bigger budgets, Ivy League degrees, and inside connections, none of which she possessed. Yet Blakely performed an exquisitely stoic maneuver. She redirected focus from verdict to process. What can I influence this very hour? Fabric research? Tailor feedback? Patent paperwork? Late night seam adjustments with scissors that left blisters on her fingers, but fire in her gut. Months bled into years, and the chorus of no's became background static compared to the crackling signal of her effort. Finally, one manufacturer said yes, but by that point Blakely realized the door had never been locked. She'd simply built the key by chiseling what she controlled every day. Takeaway: obstacles don't shrink when you obsess over them. They shrink when you grow taller inside your circle of influence. Internal. Drill the 2-column reflex 1. Grab sheet of paper the next time anxiety spikes. 2. Draw a vertical line. 3. Left column header. Mine. Right column header. Not mine. 4. Empty the mental storm cloud deadlines. Arguments, health scares, algorithm changes, into whichever column fits. 5. Rip the not mine column off. Crumple it and slam dunk it into the bin. 6. Everything remaining on the mine side becomes a to-do list. Beginning now, not someday. Repeat daily for 3 weeks. Watch how your mood morphs from frantic passenger to composed pilot. Tiny thought. Experiment. Imagine receiving an anonymous envelope each morning containing a random event: flat tire, surprise promotion, canceled flight, unexpected compliment. You have no veto power over the envelope. It lands on your desk regardless. Your only freedom is what pen you pick up to annotate it. Victim ink or architect ink. One scribbles, "Why me?" The other crafts, "Where's the lever? Which pen will future you?"
Thank you for...
Now that you've drawn the bright red line, the next logical question is, how do I silence the emotional earthquakes that still shake the ground inside that line? Principle 2 will hand you a stoic breathing technique for thought, one that lets you zoom out far enough to watch feelings drift like clouds instead of crashing like thunder. But before we sprint ahead, pause and cement Principle 1, action step, for the next 24 hours. Before replying to any stress trigger email comment, traffic jam ask, is this within my command? If the answer's no, exhale and step away. If yes, respond with deliberate choice instead of reflex. Lock that habit, and you'll already feel muscles of mental sovereignty flexing in ways most schools never demonstrated. So now that you've learned how to draw the red line between what you can control and what you cannot, how do you actually live that principle in everyday life? Let's ground this in something simple but real. Imagine this. It's Monday morning. You're walking into the office already anticipating your boss's critical remarks, a mountain of emails, and that dreaded deadline flashing red on your calendar. The natural instinct is to brace yourself, tighten your shoulders, clench your jaw, let anxiety simmer beneath the surface. But what if in that exact moment you paused, took a slow breath, and asked yourself a quiet but powerful question? What part of this can I control? You can't dictate your boss's mood, can't fast forward time, but you can manage how you plan your day, can refine your work process. You can choose how to absorb feedback calmly without defensiveness. That's your power zone. The outcome, it's not yours to command, but your effort, your mindset, entirely yours, and the magic happens right there in that release. Letting go of the obsession to control the uncontrollable doesn't weaken you, it frees you. Suddenly your focus sharpens. Your mind feels lighter. Oddly enough, the act of surrendering to reality awakens an inner energy that was blocked by worry. you begin to feel something most people overlook in adulthood: resilience, endurance, a deep well of self-guidance you didn't even know you had. So, the next time life throws you into a tight corner, a confrontation, a delay, an unexpected problem, don't spiral. Instead, ask, what can I do right now to improve even 1% of this situation? That question becomes your training ground. Every time you ask it, you're practicing mental self-mastery. Over time, this practice rewires your brain. You go from reacting with panic to responding with clarity, from flinching at discomfort to facing it, head dash on. Think about it, remember the days, and even a small piece of criticism could echo in your mind for hours. You'd lie awake replaying every word, taking it personally. Now, imagine being able to hear the same critique and calmly say, that's useful, I'll take what helps. The rest I let go. That's the power of understanding your sphere of control. It's not abstract philosophy. It's a survival tool, one that brings autonomy and resilience into every chaotic moment. Remember, you don't choose the weather, but you choose whether to stand tall in the storm or crumble in the rain. It's your real freedom. Principle 2. Morning mental armor. The power of pre-rehearsing the worst now. Let's build on that. Strength with the next principle 1, that ancient. Stoics believe should begin before the day even starts. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you looked in the mirror at sunrise and prepared your mind for the worst that could happen? That day sounds dark. Marcus Aurelius didn't think so. He advised himself into Usto. Begin every morning by expecting the inevitable roughness of the world today. I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. All of them from people ignorant of good and evil. This wasn't pessimism. This was armored by saying it before life surprises you. You're not surrendering to pain, you're shrinking its power. You're stepping into the day with a mental shield already raised. Your expectations grounded in reality instead of fantasy. Think about this in a practical way. You're about to present at a meeting. You've prepared for days, but what if the projector fails? What if the slides vanish? What if the Wi-Fi ghosts out? You could panic, or you could rehearse those possibilities in advance. Imagine calmly saying to yourself, if the slides don't work, I'll switch to storytelling. If the mic fails, I'll raise my voice and own the room. If the tech dies completely, I'll hand out printouts I prepared earlier. That's the Stoic mindset. Not hoping things go well, but preparing for when they don't. Rehearsing. Disaster is not negativity. It's strategy. This is the essence of premeditatio malorum, the Stoic practice of mentally rehearsing adversity. When you do this each morning, you stop being a slave to unpredictability. You stop clinging to perfection. You start adapting with agility. Because here's the secret. Once you've rehearsed the worst, the rest feels lighter. You're not caught off guard. You're not crushed. You're composed because your mind has been here before. Even small annoyances, traffic, rude emails, last-minute changes lose their bite. Your heart feels lighter, not because life is easier, but because your mind is stronger. And no, you're not superhuman. You're just prepared. It's all the Stoics ever asked of themselves, to meet life not with illusion, but with readiness. So now you've learned the power of morning. Preparation of facing potential chaos with calm in your heart and a plan in your hand. But what about when chaos still catches you off guard? What if even with preparation, your emotions try to hijack the moment? Don't worry. Principle 3 will show you how to stay grounded when the emotional wave hits, how to anchor your identity in something deeper than circumstance. But for now, remember, master your mornings, and the day bows to you, not the other way around. So by now, you've learned to put on mental armor every morning, rehearsing challenges, controlling what's yours, and meeting each day with intention. And the best part is that armor is not rigid steel, but something far more resilient: awareness. Each breath you take, you're no longer placing your hopes on chance or other people's moods. You're anchoring yourself in your own preparation. You breathe more freely. You stop bracing for impact, because you've shifted the weight from uncontrollable events to your own readiness. And that tiny shift, it changes everything. By turning this reflective ritual into a non-negotiable habit, your days start with power, not panic. Set your alarm just 5 minutes earlier, not to check messages or rush emails, but to close your eyes and visualize the unseen storms that may come. And then, calmly, picture yourself facing them. You don't need capes or swords, just presence. You are suiting up, invisibly, but with strength that echoes through your day. Each time you do this, your spirit steadies. You begin to notice little things don't shake you anymore. Snarky comment, a delayed train, a last-minute change in plans. You breathe, you adapt, you continue. This is the quiet brilliance of Stoicism. It doesn't just teach you how to endure. It teaches you how to live fully, moment by moment, without being hijacked by fear, regret, or false hope. It reminds you that self-reflection isn't some abstract luxury. It's your clearest path to inner peace. Because once you truly commit to mastering your inner world, external pressure loses its grip. You're no longer a puppet reacting to what happens. You're an artist, choosing how to respond, how to shape meaning, how to move forward no matter what. From preparing for the worst to recognizing opportunities hidden inside adversity. You've now completed Principle 2. You've forged a reliable mental shield, one you can carry everywhere, and now we move forward with that shield in hand to something even deeper. Not just accepting what happens, but loving it. Principle 3, Amor Fati, love. Your fate. Have you ever wondered how some people face pain, loss, or failure not with bitterness, but with a strange kind of grace? Not only enduring hardship, but somehow embracing it? That, my friend, is the soul of Amor Fati, Latin phrase meaning love your fate. And it's one of the most beautiful, powerful, and counterintuitive principles in all of Stoic thinking. To love your fate is not merely to accept what happens. It is to say, this too is mine. And because it is mine, I will make it meaningful. The quiet decision to treat every setback as a sacred chapter in your story, not an interruption. But part of the plot, the philosopher Nietzsche later made this idea famous, but it wasn't his invention. It was borrowed and deepened from Stoic roots, where Amor Fati wasn't just about endurance. It was about alchemizing suffering, turning pain into power, wounds into wisdom. The Stoics knew what many of us forget. Our attitude toward the events in our life determines the quality of our life. The Roman philosopher Seneca said it best: difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Let that sink in. Hardship, when embraced, not resisted, becomes like training weights for your soul. Every challenge sharpens your resolve, tests your character, and adds a layer to the strength you carry. Life's not trying to break you. It's trying to build you. The story of Frida Kahlo turning pain into art. Let's make this real. Picture a young woman just 18 years old, lying in a hospital bed after a horrific bus crash in Mexico City. Her spine is shattered, her pelvis crushed. Dozens of surgeries await. Her name is Frida Kahlo, and her life is just split in two, before and after. Most people would give in to despair. But not Frida. She asked a different question. What can I create with the pain? With her bed as a studio, she painted vividly, defiantly. Her canvases weren't about hiding her wounds. They were about declaring them. She once wrote, "Feet, what do I need you for when I have wings to fly?" Those words weren't fantasy. They were fire. Frida transformed agony into beauty, suffering into symbolism, tragedy into triumph, and her art. It didn't just survive, it soared. It spoke to millions. It became her legacy. She didn't fight her fate. She used it. That's amor fati. Loving your fate doesn't mean liking it. Let's be clear. Amor fati doesn't mean pretending to enjoy. Every difficulty means accepting it as yours, not unfairly dealt, but powerfully chosen, even if you didn't consciously choose it. It's about asking, what can this teach me? How can this sharpen me? Where's the strength hiding inside this pain? Imagine facing a crushing deadline not as a burden, but as a training ground for discipline or a heated argument. Not as a threat, but as a chance to grow patience and compassion. When you love your fate, even the bitter parts, you tap into a kind of energy most people never access. Why? Because most people waste energy resisting, but you redirect it, you transform it. Conclusion: loving your struggle, lifting your life. Thanks to Amor Fati, Frida didn't just survive. She redefined what survival means, and you can do the same, whether it's career failure, heartbreak, illness, or rejection. These aren't dead ends. They're invitations. They're raw material. They're the stones on which you build your strongest foundation. And here's the truth. When you love your fate, even your deepest wounds can become wings. Now, take a breath. Look at your life. What part of your story have you been resisting? If you stopped fighting it and started folding it into your strength, because that's where the transformation begins. When you train your heart to love every crack in the mosaic, the next lesson reveals itself almost automatically. Once you've welcomed hardship, you must learn to steer the emotional storm it brings. Principle 4. Separate your emotions from your actions. Picture anger rising inside you like a flash flood, hot, forceful, unstoppable for a beat. If you act in that first surge, the torrent drags you downstream. But if you pause, count to 10, and put pen to paper, something remarkable happens. Emotion and action drift apart. The flood still roars, yet you're suddenly standing on solid ground. Watching it rush by instead of being swept away. Authenticity isn't measured by how loudly we explode. It's proven by the quiet restraint that shows we command our own mind. 1. See emotion for what it is. Stoics remind us. It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Feelings are the body's natural signals. Racing pulse, shallow breath, tightened jaw, but they are not marching orders. Recognize the signal. Cues to obey it blindly. Ask yourself, am I feeling anger or am I becoming anger? That tiny wording. Shift returns power to reason too. Create a buffer zone when your chest tightens and thoughts lock onto a single grievance. Declare a timeout. Jot bullet points. Sketch a mind map or whisper, I'm angry because. You're giving the feeling. Private space to vent without granting it the steering wheel. In that pause, chemicals settle, perspective widens, options multiply. 3. Respond. Don't react only after the surge subsides. Do you choose the next steps? End a calm email. Ask clarifying questions or decide silence is wiser. Each deliberate. Act proves that emotion is a guest, not a ruler. In the home of your mind, real-world ripples at work. A harsh critique lands in your inbox at 4 p.m. Old habit. Fire back or sulk. Stoic habit. Draft your raw reaction in a private doc. Breathe. Then rewrite a concise reply focused on solutions. You stay composed and convert criticism into craft. At home, a loved one snaps after a long day. Instinct says defend yourself. Wisdom says pause. A simple, I can see you're tired can we talk after dinner? Scars. Why this separation matters. Every time feeling overpowers reason, you surrender the throne to a passing tyrant. Words spoken in rage can't be unspoken. Decisions carved in anxiety often erode the very security you sought. By practicing emotion-action separation, you gain clarity. Seeing events without the fog of impulse. Patience letting truth emerge. Before judgment. Compassion, understanding that others are fighting their own internal floods. This is the quiet strength Seneca admired, choosing how to behave even while emotions pound at the gate. Your turn, think. Back to the last moment anger or stress hijacked you. Could a 10-second pause have changed the outcome? Next time the pulse spikes, test it. 1. Label the emotion out loud or on paper. 2. Breathe until the body signal eases. 3. Act from clarity, not reflex. Try it once, then again. Eventually the pause becomes a reflex of its own your personnel. Shield amid life's tempests. Master this split. And you'll find that the storms outside may continue, but the captain inside never loses the helm so far. We've learned to separate emotion from action, to pause, to reflect, to choose wisely, instead of reacting blindly. But sometimes the wisest response of all is no response at all. That's where principle number 5 begins. Practice keeping your silence. Now ask yourself, how many times have words leaped from your lips before you truly meant them? Moments when emotion poured out unchecked only to be followed by a cold wave of regret. We've all been there. One careless sentence, one reaction to fast. And just like that, a calm room becomes a battlefield. In Stoic philosophy, silence isn't simply the absence of sound. It's the presence of power. The stillness between stimulus and response is not empty. It's the very space where its inner freedom lives. Let's bring this to life with a real-world example. The story of Scott's strength and stillness. Webb, a young manager in a fast-moving Silicon Valley tech firm, was known for being sharp, ambitious, and occasionally short-tempered. During a critical project meeting, the supervisor publicly called him out for a technical error. In the past, Scott would have fired back, defensive, loud, maybe even sarcastic, was his reflex, his armor. His way of proving he wouldn't be walked over. But this time, something shifted. He felt the surge rising, but he didn't let it take over. He breathed. He stayed still. And after a few seconds, he replied softly, "Thank you for the feedback. I'll take another look and make it right." That was it. No drama, no outburst. And instantly the room changed. The tension diffused. His boss nodded. His team respected him more. The project moved forward with harmony, not hostility. What changed? Not the situation. Scott changed. Wisdom of withholding. As Epictetus once said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. This isn't just about hearing others. It's about listening to ourselves, to the brewing thoughts, the tight chest, the rising voice. Before we let anything escape our lips, imagine if every time you felt the urge to snap back, you paused. You asked yourself, is this word necessary? Does it heal or does it harm? So much of life's pain comes not from what happens, but from what we say while it's happening. That's why silence is not weakness. It's a decision. A pause with purpose, from instinct to intention. This practice isn't easy, but it's powerful. When your breath quickens, when anger bubbles, when shame stings, stop, write, walk. Whisper to yourself, this will pass. I'm not this emotion. Then, When your thoughts settle like clear water, you can speak not from the storm, but from the calm center beneath it. In a conflict with a loved one, silence gives space for empathy. In a tense work moment, it builds credibility. In your personal journey, it becomes a mirror revealing who you are beneath the noise. Silence isn't the absence of emotion. It's the container that holds it until it no longer controls you. The respect. You earn something beautiful happens when you learn to be silent before speaking. You gain the respect of others.
Not because you dominate,
but because you discern. You become the one people turn to when everything feels chaotic, because your presence feels like an anchor, and even more importantly, you respect yourself more. Because you've chosen peace over pride, wisdom over ego, mastery over reflex. A gentle reflection, think about it. How many arguments, misunderstandings, and regrets in your life began simply because something was said too soon? A version of you who waits 5 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe even a full minute, and in that stillness, finds a better way to express what actually matters. That version of you already exists. And every time you practice keeping your silence, you bring them closer. The bigger picture silence, in the Stoic sense, is not about shutting down. It's about opening up space for thought before speech, for values before reaction, for truth before noise. It's what transforms a reactive life into a thoughtful one. So from now on, don't just speak because you can. Speak because what you say will build, not break. Because it's grounded in truth, not in fear. That is Stoic communication. That is quiet strength. Closing in tease for next principle. Thank you for walking with us through the 5th principle, the sacred strength of silence. If this resonates with you, leave a comment below. Have you ever tried pausing before reacting? What changed? And don't forget, our next step in this journey is equally powerful. In Principle 6, we'll dive into how Stoicism teaches you not only to face the unknown, but to cherish it. So make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to continue sharpening your mindset. One principle at a time. Because this isn't just a video, it's a transformation. And you're right in the middle of it. The last principle taught us that silence can be strength, the calm pause that prevents words from wounding. We step into a deeper calm, accepting that everything we hold is, by nature, temporary. Principle 6. Accept the uncertainty of life's awareness, of life's finitude. Sounds grim. Yet it stretches the human spirit wider than any comfort zone ever could. Instead of letting your mind drift from one restless worry to another, you learn to drop anchor in the here and now. The moment you realize no instant is yours to keep forever, attention sharpens, gratitude rises, and the mind loosens its grip on yesterday's shadows and tomorrow's mirages. Don't demand that things happen as you wish, Epictetus reminds us. Wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. The counsel is simple. Release unreasonable demands and merge with the universe's rhythm, where every event arrives with its own hidden reason. A dawn ritual of perspective. How do we nurture this mindset practically? Begin each morning with a brief meditation. Close your eyes, hail deeply. Picture opening those eyes to a world that might change without notice. Then ask yourself, if tomorrow never comes, did I live today completely? The thought feels heavy, yet paradoxically it liberates. When you treasure the present, you refuse to squander seconds on trivial pursuits or petty grudges. During that stillness, you'll recognize a hard truth. Fear of loss is born from over-attachment. To love someone is not to bind them with invisible chains, but to honor their freedom while loving yourself enough to stand whole. Admitting that everything passes doesn't make you pessimistic. It forces you to live more fully. Meals become ceremonies of gratitude. Conversations deepen. Sunsets are savored, not skimmed, because you're no longer racing toward the next appointment in life's calendar. Flexibility in the face of collapse, embracing uncertainty, also breeds agility. When plans unravel, you stay calm and scout anew. Root. When something dear slips away, you trade regret for the lesson hidden inside the loss. This is the Stoic reflex, viewing hardship as raw material for fortitude, transforming obstacles into fuel that tempers your will. Gradually, you cease to see yourself as a victim of fate and start to see yourself as an artist, painting the day's canvas with deliberate, skillful strokes. Each dawn whisper memento mori, not to brood over death but to wake up. Today is a non-refundable gift. Let no heartbeat go unused. By applying this sixth principle, accepting impermanence, you cultivate serenity amid storms and uncover a silent reservoir of power that can withstand any trial and cherish every breath. Principle 7. Set internal goals, not external ones. Consider James. He once chased the perfect physique as though chiseled abs were life's sole trophy. Every glance in the mirror became a judgment, every uncarved muscle a personal failure. Exhausted, he dropped the burden of achievement and fell in love with the process. Each dawn run is his victory, the steady rhythm of breath, sweat cooling on his skin, tires humming along a quiet street. Every step thanks the body for its strength and the day for its gift of movement. From James's story, you see the difference unmistakably. Goals anchored inside, fort presence, gratitude cannot be stolen by circumstance. And that is where we'll travel next. In the previous principle, we embraced impermanence and learned to cherish each breath as a gift. Now let's take that awareness one step further by shifting our focus from what we want to achieve to how we experience the journey itself. Principle 7, set internal goals instead of external ones there. A world of difference between chasing an external outcome and honoring an internal process. When we place all our hopes on outward achievements, how many kilos we've lost, how many compliments we've earned, how fast we've improved, the pressure only grows heavier. Every mirror becomes a measurement. Every comment becomes a judgment. But when you wake each morning not to prove something to the world, but to celebrate the experience, everything changes. You no longer run to fit into a certain size or to impress others. You run because you're alive, because your body moves, because your breath syncs with the beat of your heart, and that alone is worth giving thanks for. A deeper motivation. Let's say you lace up your shoes before dawn, but before stepping out the door, you pause. You close your eyes and whisper a simple prayer, not for the perfect physique, but for the strength to keep moving. You're not just asking God for results. You're thanking Him for the body He's given you, for the legs that carry you, for lungs that expand with purpose, for another chance to experience the morning air. This is what it means to shift from external goals to internal ones. Not to erase the drive to improve, but to anchor it in gratitude, not anxiety. The journey is the gift God has placed in us, a powerful instinct to grow, to strive, to stretch ourselves. But He also wants us to understand the journey itself is a blessing. The struggle, the sweat, the stillness afterward, all of it matters. When you train your body, you're not just shaping muscle, you're shaping patience, you're shaping resilience, you're shaping faith. And when you run with a grateful heart, every footstep becomes a kind of prayer, a hymn of motion, a rhythm of grace. Lasting fire comes from within. Have you ever noticed how many people start a goal with blazing motivation, only to fade within weeks? It's because their fire is fueled by applause, by validation, attention, recognition. When the applause stops, so does the will. But those who tie their efforts to something within, to silent gratitude, to personal progress, to spiritual alignment those people endure, even when no one is watching. Even when results are slow, even when the scale doesn't move or the camera doesn't capture it, because for them, the joy isn't in the destination, it's in the doing. Your effort is already a win every time you finish a run. Lift a weight. Stretch through the discomfort, thank God, even if the world doesn't see it. Even if there's no post, no praise, no medal, because God sees your effort. He feels your discipline. He's smiling, not because you hit a number, but because you honored the process with your whole heart. Patience, humility, and true growth. When you shift to internal goals, you also discover a deeper lesson: humility. You realize that progress isn't loud, it's quiet. It grows in small decisions made over time, and it doesn't boast. It breathes self-improvement, becomes less about arriving and more about becoming bit by bit, step by step, prayer by prayer. Try this shift the next time you say to yourself, I must achieve this. Try changing it to, I am experiencing this. It's a small tweak, but it lifts the weight of pressure off your shoulders and lets joy rise in its place. Let your prayer each morning be simple and strong. Lord, grant me gratitude for every step I take. That's it. It's enough. The fruit of internal goals, the sweetness of success, no longer depends on how far you've gone or how fast you've grown. It depends on the depth of your presence in each moment, and as you move forward, you'll notice something beautiful with every breath, every stride, every quiet prayer. God walks beside you because you've stopped chasing perfection and started embracing His path with love. Coming up next is Principle 8, where we'll shift our focus from personal growth to collective strength. Through the story of a humble Roman farmer, we'll explore how true Stoic living means not only mastering the self, but contributing meaningfully to the greater good. So take a deep breath, smile with your spirit, and get ready to discover how community over self can transform not just your life, but the world around you. In the last principle, we explored how internal goals anchored in faith, gratitude, and presence led to deeper, longer-lasting fulfillment. But as we continue on this path of Stoic wisdom, there's something even more profound waiting for us. The realization that our journey is not meant to be walked alone. Principle 8, community over individual. Imagine writing a heartfelt post about Stoic philosophy. You hit publish, unsure if anyone will read it. Then, a stranger leaves a comment. This helped me more than you know. Thank you. In that moment, something shifts. You realize your words born from your own quiet reflections have touched someone across space, perhaps even time. That's the power of community. Stoicism, often misunderstood as a solitary pursuit, doesn't encourage isolation. It calls for connection. It doesn't demand that you retreat into your own world. It urges you to open your heart and become part of something larger, a living, breathing cosmic community where faith, support, and strength flow back and forth like a river of shared humanity. Why community matters. Have you ever asked yourself, what's the point of growing stronger, calmer, and wiser if you keep it all to yourself? The truth is, none of us was born to be an island. Every thought, every action, no matter how small, creates ripples. A kind word might lift someone from despair. A gesture of generosity might spark courage. A few moments of truly listening could change the course of someone's day. And just like that, Stoicism comes alive not in theory, but in shared experience, from self to shared purpose. When you place the common good above personal gain, something beautiful unfolds. You don't lose yourself. You become more of yourself. Your inner power grows stronger. Your vision becomes clearer. and you begin to live not just for yourself, but through yourself. It's for the world around you. This is how you spread the Stoic spirit quietly, humbly, consistently, and you don't need grand gestures sometimes. It's as simple as taking 5 minutes to truly listen to a friend, checking in on someone going through a rough patch, volunteering, donating, or just offering your time with sincerity. No act is too small. Each one helps build a resilient, supportive network where every individual is seen, valued, and uplifted. The story of Cincinnatus lets look at a timeless example. Lucius Quinctius Cincinnatus, a Roman farmer. He was called from his humble field to rescue Rome in a moment of dire need. He led as a dictator briefly, decisively, and when the danger passed, he stepped down. He returned to his plow, to his land, to a quiet meal shared with his wife. That moment, etched in Roman history, is not merely about leadership. It's a Stoic act of service. A reminder that greatness lies not in how long you hold power, but in how quickly you release it once it has served its purpose. His story teaches us we are not born merely for ourselves. We are born to contribute. Stoicism is not isolation. When Epictetus taught his students, he reminded them of a simple truth. Remember, you were not born for yourself alone. This isn't a rejection of individuality. It's an invitation to responsibility. Because every time you act with integrity, kindness, courage, strengthen the web of humanity. You link your will to others. You turn private growth into shared strength. The power of shared effort. Have you ever seen neighbors come together after a storm? Clearing debris, handing out water, checking on the elderly. What happens in those moments? Fatigue disappears. Division vanishes. Joy rises. That is Stoicism in action, not in solitude, but in solidarity. A gentle challenge. Ask yourself today, how can I support someone around me right now? Not someday, not after you fix yourself, but in the process of becoming, because you are becoming, you give. Maybe it's your time. Maybe it's your energy. Maybe it's just your presence. Whatever it is, offer it, because the moment you give, you grow. Final reflection from Cincinnatus to your own daily life. The Stoic principle of community over individual isn't just about doing your part, it's about discovering a deeper truth. When I stand strong, we all stand strong. And when we give from that place, not for attention, but for alignment, we find meaning that outlives us. So what do you think? Has this principle stirred something in you? Have you experienced moments where community carried you forward? Share your thoughts, your stories, your ideas in the comments below. Your voice might be the one that lifts someone else. And no matter the scale, every act for the community deserves our deepest respect. In the next principle, we'll confront one of the hardest yet most transformative aspects of Stoic practice: voluntary discomfort. Because sometimes the path to resilience begins with choosing discomfort on purpose. Stay with us. The next step is challenging, but it might just change how you start every day, just after we've felt the surge of strength that comes from standing together as a community. Stoicism invites us to forge an even deeper power, one that can't be given by others, only earned within ourselves. Principle 9. Voluntary discomfort. Think of discomfort not as an enemy, but as a strict teacher who never flatters, never lies, and always rewards effort. Every moment you push through a minor hardship lays a fresh brick in the fortress of your will. You're not simply raising your tolerance for a cold shower or a skipped malure, expanding the bandwidth of your mind, preparing it to face life's fiercest storms with unshakable calm. The ancient Stoics never chased pain for pain's sake. They sought command over their own reactions. By choosing small trials, I discovered a priceless advantage. Emotion and circumstance lost their power to dictate terms. So, are you ready to challenge yourself today? Begin with one cold water shower. Just 60 seconds will jolt you. Awake and reveal hidden strength. Tomorrow, try walking to work with a weighted backpack or fasting through breakfast. Apply this principle and study read. An extra chapter after fatigue sets in. Apply it at work, volunteer for the tough task no one else wants. Apply it in relationships. Have the brave conversation you've been avoiding. Very soon, you'll see the transformation, that rude email, minor splash, the looming deadline, manageable swell. Each self-elected hardship shrinks everyday annoyances to child-sized ripples. You become a participant in life's dojo, not an empty vessel passively receiving lessons. And once voluntary discomfort feels familiar, steel yourself for even steeper climbs, because true growth has no summit. Principle 10. Continuously. Check and adjust your thinking picture, a solitary mountain ridge at dusk. Beside a crackling fire sits legendary swordsman Miyamoto Musashi, pen in hand, blade at his side. He studies a slim notebook where every victorious strike and every near-fatal mistake is recorded in meticulous lines. For Musashi, the battle ends on the field. But mastery begins in reflection. That image captures the heart of our final Stoic principle: relentless mental refinement. Thinking is not a fixed tool you acquire once. It's a blade that dulls without disciplined honing. How do we practice? Adopt a weekly Stoic journal. Each Sunday list 1. 3 moments you embodied Stoicism. Perhaps you paused before reacting, or loved your fate amid chaos. 2. 3 moments you missed, the mark anger, avoidance, self-pity, then dissect them. Why did strategy work? Where? Did strategy be crumble? Right concrete adjustments? Next time I'll breathe twice before speaking, or prepare backup slides for tech failures. In doing so, you turn experience, both triumph and embarrassment, into sharpening stones. Want extra edge? Share insights with a trusted friend or quiz yourself with flashcards. What's in my control? Define amor fati in one sentence. Over months, you'll sense a quiet shift. Self-awareness heightens, emotional hijacks fade, and you graduate from passive absorber to active author of meaning. Remember, growth never plateaus. It only deepens. Like Musashi, you learn until old age and teach by example until your last breath. Bringing the 10 principles home, we've traveled far. 1. Control versus non-control. 2. Morning self-examination. 3. Amor fati, love your fate. 4. Separate emotion from action. 5. Mindful silence. 6. Embrace uncertainty. 7. Internal goals over external praise. 8. Community above self. 9. Voluntary discomfort. 10. Continuous mental recalibration. Ek principle is a gear in the same engine. Turn one, and the others move with it, driving you toward a life of clarity, resilience, and unshakable calm. Now, the spotlight shifts to you. Choose one principle, just one, and apply it today. Cold shower, silent pause, 5-minute journal entry. Put it into motion, then return here and share what happened in the comments. Your story might be the spark that lights another mind. Let's walk this path together. If these lessons resonate, imagine what consistent practice will do. Subscribe to Stoic Havenway and ring the bell so every new video lands in your feed like a fresh page in Musashi's notebook, ready to be studied, tested, and lived. Thank you for being part of this journey. Keep sharpening your mind, keep opening your heart, and remember, life doesn't demand perfection. Leave the courage to improve. One breath, one choice, one principle at a time. See you in the next video, fellow Stoic traveler. Stay resilient and stay unstoppable.